Stop scrolling. Take a breath. Because what you're about to witness isn't just another political panel, it's the split second when a single sentence collides with a lifetime of courage and the nation forgets how to breathe. If stories that crack open the heart matter to you, hit subscribe, smash that like, and drop your first impression in the comments right now, because the moment the red light blinks on in this Manhattan studio, history is going live. It's 8:02 p.m. on a restless Tuesday. Midtown traffic beats against the glass like a nervous drumline, while inside studio for Be There snaps with stage light heat and rehearsed small talk. Producers in headsets chase final cues. Camera lenses gleam like hungry eyes waiting to feast. Viewers across America settle into couches expecting the usual platter of partisan sparks and recycled outrage. Ratings gold, right? But tonight destiny has a different script. Center stage, a polished glass table glows beneath overhead LEDs. To the left sits Captain Ibrahim Traoré, 30-something, posture straight as a flagpole, jacket a muted earth tone that whispers of deserts and night patrols. His face, calm yet alert, carries the quiet geography of someone who learned discipline before comfort. He isn't here to grandstand. He's here, producers assure the audience, simply to provide the African perspective on foreign aid. Simple, contained, safe. Opposite him is Karoline Leavitt, media-trained, quick-smiling, flint-eyed. Her brand thrives on viral zingers and scalpel-sharp retorts. She's the kind of guest who treats the pause between questions like open field for a knockout punch. Tonight she smells opportunity the way a gladiator smells blood beneath the sand. Flanking them, Colonel Jacob Whitmore, silver star on his lapel, Vietnam's ghosts in his gaze. A charismatic host who believes he's steering the ship. Rows of ordinary Americans hungry for answers but primed for spectacle. They don't know it yet, but every heartbeat in this room is winding the clock toward a single catastrophic syllable. A makeup artist dabs Caroline's cheek. A floor manager counts down from 5. Somewhere, a teenage girl in Des Moines turns up the volume while a veteran in Atlanta pours another coffee, unconsciously bracing for impact. The crayon flashes live, America and Africa, a conversation on power, but that sterile headline, can it hint at the fuse coiled beneath? 4, 3, 2. The host inhales to greet the nation. Across the table, Captain Traoré's hands rest lightly, palms down, as though anchoring centuries of struggle to the studio desk. In his pocket, a folded letter from a brother long buried presses against his heartbeat, a silent reminder of why a man sometimes travels half a world away simply to speak aloud a truth others keep erasing. Karoline swings her chair fractionally. Forward predator ready to pounce, lips curling around words sharpened backstage. She doesn't see the storm she's about to summon, and yes, you watching right now are in the front row. Stay with us, because before this hour ends, a single phrase will ricochet from these walls into living rooms, classrooms, and the corridors of power, demanding to know whether dignity still means anything in the land of free speech. Ready? Hit that bell icon, because when the countdown reaches 0, there will be no rehearsals, no do-overs, only raw, electrifying truth. The red light flashes. America leans in. Good evening, America. The host's greeting barely clears his throat when Captain Traoré's baritone flows into the void like water over stone. No theatrics, no teleprompter polish, just a measured cadence that hushes the studio's mechanical hum. He speaks of history scarred into village walls, of children memorizing arithmetic by firelight because the grid no longer remembers their names. He draws a line from Burkina Faso's scrublands to the boardrooms of global lenders, then back to the narrow wrist of a mother carrying 2 buckets and the future at once. You can feel televisions across the country edging closer, as if static itself has leaned in to listen. Karoline Leavitt, though, is coiling smile tight, nostrils flaring, counting the beats until her ambush will detonate. In her ear, a producer whispers 4 more heat, ratings gold. She mistakes that instruction for a license to belittle. Traoré pauses, palms still resting on glass, and offers a gentle nod to Colonel Whitmore. The veteran's eyes soften. He recognizes the calculus of guarded grief. For a fractional second, empathy flickers across the host's face too, though he quickly masks it behind the safe harbor of neutrality. Karoline pounces. She pivots forward, manicured finger leveled like a bayonet. Let's stop dressing it up, she snaps, syllables clipped and cold. If you're so opposed to Western presence, sit down, boy, and let the adults handle global security. Time fractures. The studio lights don't dim, yet everything feels darker. Audience breaths catch mid-rib. Far away, a father streaming the show in Phoenix rises from his recliner without knowing why, an instinct older than outrage. Social feeds. Ignite in real time. Did she just? The host's mouth opens but no sound escapes. Colonel Whitmore straightens, battlefield steel returning to his spine. Karoline settles back, satisfied, a predator convinced the kill is clean. But Captain Traoré does not sit. Instead, he lifts his hands from the table as though releasing invisible weights, pushes gently to his feet, and turns not to his antagonist, but to the rows of strangers lining the risers. He inhales, slow and deliberate, gathering every shard of the insult and forging it into something unbreakable. When he finally speaks, the volume is barely above a murmur, yet it fills the room like cathedral bells. Where I come from, he begins, voice steady as sunrise. Boys stand guard while their mothers barter tomorrow for a bowl of rice. Boys rebuild classrooms every time bullets mistake textbooks for shields. A single studio light flickers. Unsure whether to hold its glow or bow to the gravity in his tone, he pivots toward Karoline. Her triumphant smirk has frozen mid-arc. You call me boy, he continues, but it was boys who dragged their fathers' coffins through dust paths. When the world turned its face away, each word lands with the hush of snowfall, blanketing the set in an improbable serenity that feels heavier than thunder. A cough tries to escape somewhere in the upper seats, smothered by the realization that any sound right now would feel sacrilegious. Traoré's gaze sweeps the crowd, not accusing, not pleading, inviting them to carry, for one heartbeat, the weight he has balanced his whole life. So no, he says, shoulders squared, I will not sit down. I have knelt at too many graves. Already, it is in that instant before applause, before hashtags, before the nation begins writing think pieces when the true explosion happens. Not in noise, but in understanding. A collective recognition that something ancient and ugly was spoken, and something infinitely stronger refused to be broken by it. Karoline shifts in her chair, discovering too late that a smirk offers no buoyancy. In rising waters of truth, Traoré remains standing, but it is the rest of America that now feels compelled to rise with him. Silence, absolute and ringing, consecrates the studio. The spark has found its tinder. The blaze is inevitable. And somewhere, inside that hush, a new heartbeat begins, slow, seismic, impossible to mute. The studio clock clicks so loudly now it sounds like artillery. Every red-eye camera is locked on. Captain Ibrahim Traoré still standing, still composed, as if the insult hurled moments ago had fluttered past him like a paper dart. From the control room comes a single directive: let him speak, because the nation is frozen in collective suspense, and no producer alive is reckless enough to cut away from this gravity. Traoré inhales a quiet draft of air that feels like the slow pull of a bowstring and begins, my father taught me a man keeps his voice low so his words can climb high. The cadence is unhurried, syllables turned in his mouth like smooth river stones. He paints the audience a stark mural, boys hauling sacks of millet instead of backpacks, candle stubs stabbed into earth and floors for light, mothers who sold tomorrow piece by piece so today could taste of hope. Rows of faces lean forward. Something inside the set shifts. The show is no longer about politics. It is politics yielding to humanity. Colonel Whitmore's chin trembles. The host who once prided himself on poker face neutrality pinches. The bridge of his nose to dam the wet gleam gathering in his eyes. Karoline Leavitt, cross-armed, tries to scoff, but the sound dies in her throat. Her practiced confidence suddenly feels like cheap stage makeup melting under fresher, truer light. Traoré is not debating. He is testifying, and every syllable peels another layer off her armor. He reaches into his jacket and lifts a single matchbook, edges frayed, logo nearly rubbed away. This lit the candles I studied by, he says. It was a gift from my mother, proof that even a spark, cared for, can survive the longest night. He places the matchbook on the gleaming desk between them, small but unignorable, like a seed on marble. The silence is now sacred, an audience of millions listening by instinct, afraid to blink. Then his voice drops further, a hush sliding beneath the floorboards. You called me boy. The boys I know fold flags over coffins and still find the courage to lift their sisters onto their shoulders so they can see the next sunrise. His gaze is steady, direct, not a blade, but a mirror. Karoline flinches at her own reflection. He pivots toward the crowd. You don't have to like me, he says, but you will not erase me. The words hover like cathedral arches vast. echoing, impossible to tear down. A single clap cracks the air. Colonel Whitmore, palms stinging with urgency. A heartbeat later another joins, and another, until applause roars through Studio 4B like rainfall on a tin roof. It is not polite TV clapping. It is the sound people make when they recognize a truth too long buried. Karoline's smile shatters. She grips her notes, the same cue cards that once felt like weapons, but now they tremble as if caught in a hard wind. No retort surfaces. Every line she'd rehearsed for a viral knockout punch lies useless, plastic in a room gone incandescent with authenticity. Traoré remains motionless, shoulders level, hands folded at his belt. He does not bow. He does not grin. He simply stands. A column of weathered stone in a storm of manufactured outrage. The audience rises, first a few, then all forming a living wave that lifts itself in reverence. At home, veterans shift to attention, school teachers put chalk to pause, and teenagers on couches glance at one another wordlessly, learning a definition of strength they will never read in civics textbooks. Karoline's MIC picks up a tremor of breath. The camera zooms. Viewers see it, a flicker of doubt, the moment arrogance gives way to recognition of harm. Yet Traoré spares her no triumph. His dignity is not revenge. It is reclamation. The applause ebbs to a hush, but something irreversible has happened. A new metric for courage has been set, measured not by decibels shouted, but by pain carried without surrender. And everyone in that studio and far beyond knows they have witnessed a lesson that will echo in classrooms, boardrooms, and kitchen tables long after tonight's broadcast blinks off air. Traoré exhales. The matchbook lies untouched on the desk, its potential as bright as ever. Somewhere beyond the camera's reach, sparks begin to leap from heart to heart. The applause still quivers in the rafters when a producer in the control booth croaks, "We're trending in 30 states, keep rolling." His voice is half prayer, half panic. On screens scattered across the continent, the closed caption feed floods with a single word "listen," because no algorithm can keep pace with the tidal surge of shares, stitches, reaction videos erupting. Faster than the servers can sweat, a heartbeat later, Colonel Jacob Whitmore rises from his chair. Age and battlefield shrapnel make the motion ungainly, yet dignity steadies him like a cane carved from iron. He's spent decades guarding that silver star, but tonight he guards something rarer, the still raw silence after a hard truth is spoken. "Ma'am," he tells Karoline, voice vibrating like a bridge in high wind, "I've saluted 4 presidents and buried friends on 2 continents. Never once have I heard bravery expressed so cleanly or dismissed so cheaply. You owe this man and every soldier who ever wore the wrong color in the wrong war an apology." His throat tight, Whitmore turns to Traoré and brings his hand to his heart. The gesture carries the weight of every folded flag he's ever pressed into a widow's arms. Cameras zoom. Audience members stand without instruction. A hush slips over the studio, so fragile it might shatter if anyone exhales too loudly. Karoline stares at her cue cards as if they've betrayed her. The silence swells, demanding tribute, until she breaks. "Oh, come on. It's theatrics." Her sentence skids on gravel. The room recoils. For the first time all night, the host's professional veneer cracks. "Karoline, maybe we should." He never finishes. From the third row, a middle-aged black woman rises slowly, each movement measured like she's folding grief into origami. "My son wore the uniform too," she says, voice spare as winter branches. "They called him boy even in combat boots. He came home under a flag I ironed for his funeral." Her eyes meet Traoré's, 2 strangers bonding over a wound, older than either of them. "When you spoke, Captain, it felt like my son stood up again." The impact ripples, a choke of breath from the lighting tech, a muffled sob in row 4, viewers at home clutching sofa cushions as though the fabric might anchor them in this riptide of feeling. Karoline's retort evaporates, nothing lives. After a mother's eulogy, then like sunrise through a cracked door, the studio's jumbotron flickers to life. A hospital room appears, pastel walls, for poles, bravery in primary colors. An 8-year-old girl beams from her pillow, waving 2 paper flags taped together, stars and stripes stitched to Burkina Faso's red, green, and gold. Her voice is small, but the satellite feed carries it clear as birdsong. "Hi, Captain. It's me. You told me heroes stand for kids like us. Tonight, you showed them how." The audience dissolves, grown men wiping eyes on jacket sleeves, students pressing palms to mouths. Even the host forgets to direct the cameras. They find the tears on their own. Trao places a hand over his heart. "You are the reason," he whispers, and every microphone in the house trembles to hold those 4 syllables steady. Karoline's chair screeches as she bolts upright. "This is ambush journalism," she snaps, voice flailing for altitude it no longer commands. "I won't be part of it." She shoves her MIC across the desk, metal on glass, a gunshot in the hush, and storms off set, heels clacking like distant mortar fire. No one follows. Even outrage can't find a footing in the lava of collective revelation. Outside the building, taxi horns blink into the night while push alerts ping phones in living rooms, dormitories, airport bars. Hashtag sit down boy flips polarity, now a banner of defiance against smallness. Teenagers remix Traoré's line, "You will not erase me," into spoken word TikToks. A retired teacher in Iowa writes it across her chalkboard at dawn. By midnight, the clip has crossed oceans. Lagos wakes to it with coffee. Tokyo watches it at lunch. Io sings it into the evening breeze. Back inside Studio for B, the red live light still burns. Trao gently retakes his seat, not in surrender but in stewardship of the conversation. He's wrested from the jaws of spectacle. The host leans in, voice husky, "Captain, after tonight, what do you hope America hears?" Traoré's answer is a soft thunder, equal parts lament and invitation. "I hope we learn to hold silence long enough for someone else's truth to echo." He glances at the vacant chair Karoline abandoned, then at the camera lens at you. The nation leaning toward its screen as though listening at a confessional grate. Because where dignity finally speaks, change has 2 choices: arrive or run. A producer mouths, "We're out of time," but the captain's gaze refuses to blink. Somewhere between satellites and living room lamps, millions understand that. The clock no longer runs this broadcast. History does, and history is still taking notes. Midnight wraps Manhattan in sodium orange haze, but Studio for B still hums like a struck bell. Captain Ibrahim Traoré steps into the corridor, applause residue clinging to his coat like gunpowder. A stagehand thrusts a phone at him, screen ablaze. With thousands of unread pings, president-elects, pop stars, pastors, kids with cracked screens and bigger dreams, "Thank you, we heard you." The device vibrates so hard it feels alive, yet he pockets it gently as a medic might pocket someone else's heartbeat. In a drafty service elevator, a trembling intern slips him a white envelope. "They asked me to deliver it before you disappear into history," she whispers. Inside, an embossed letter from the National Civil Rights Museum. "Tonight you spoke for every soul ever told to shrink. We are naming a permanent installation. Dignity under fire. We request your matchbook and the words that lit it." Trao exhales a thread of air that might be a prayer or might be relief. He signs the letter, then presses the matchbook against the page, ink smudging where flint once sparked childhood lessons. Somewhere in Memphis, curators ready a spotlight. 1 week later, Capitol Rottendate snowing outside, but inside the grand hall a single empty chair sits center stage, chrome legs, black cushion, no placard. The network that owns it swore never again to chase ratings at the cost of respect. And so the chair will travel with their set like a conscience on 4 wheels. Karoline Leavitt arrives before dawn, no cameras. In her hands, a folded note. At a press conference later, Trao reads it aloud. "I called you boy. You stood taller than any man I've known. I do not ask forgiveness. I seek instruction." Reporters scribble in sudden, reverent quiet. Trao answers without venom, "We heal through courage, not silence," and she has begun. That night, a constellation of porch lights blinks across America as neighbors knock on doors they once ignored. Block associations hold impromptu listening. Circles. Schoolchildren clip out newspaper cartoons that finally spell Burkina Faso correctly. Even late-night comedians drop their punchlines to quote a soldier who stood so others might rise. United Nations General Assembly spring session flags ripple like restless prayers when Captain Traoré ascends the podium. He unfolds a crayon-colored, tape-mended American flag gift of the 8-year-old girl, now in remission, watching from the gallery with a grin the size of 2 hemispheres. Cameras click, diplomats lean forward. "I was told nations are moved by power." He begins, voice carrying the hush of distant savannas, "But last Tuesday I watched a living room move a nation." He pauses, lifts the flimsy paper higher. "This weighs less than a feather, yet it bent the arc of a superpower toward humility." Twitter breaks its own record for simultaneous tears emoji. Echoes you can't mute. Columbus, Ohio. A high school civics teacher replaces the semester's mock trial assignment with the listening project, where students must interview someone outside their echo chamber and present that person's dignity in a 3-minute speech. Lagos, Nigeria. A street muralist paints Traoré's silhouette beside the words, "You will not erase me." Vendors sell matchbook keychains whose proceeds fund night school generators. Biloxi, Mississippi. 2 veterans' posts once segregated by legacy prejudice merge chapters, citing Colonel Whitmore's on-air salute as the moment they remembered they were the same flag. Every story spawns another, like sparks leaping cedar to cedar until a forest glows. If you felt a pulse beat louder than your own while reading, if Caroline's arrogance made you recoil, if a mother's eulogy made your throat tighten, if a little girl's flag reminded you that hope can fit in a child's fist, then this story now belongs to you too. Carry it, share it, let it stand whenever someone tries to make another person sit. Here's your moment. Tap like if dignity matters more to you than decibels. Hit subscribe so you never miss the next story that dares power to look in the mirror. Comment below, tell us which moment struck hardest, or confess what conversations you need to start at your own kitchen table. And above all, share, because sparks were made for passing hand to hand until the dark forgets itself. Remember, never sit down when it's time to stand up for what's human.